And load. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Computer acting up. What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard Sports Media coming at you with another preview video today. Look at the Michigan Wolverines made the playoffs for the second year in a row, and for the second year in a row, they lost a playoff game. Jim Harbaugh 0-2 in the CFP, but his resume looks phenomenal. Back-to-back Big Ten champions, back-to-back divisions, back beating Ohio State, back-to-back, whatever you want to call it. What they did last season was incredible. You look back at 2022, before we get into 2023, they go 13-1 overall. They make the playoffs, and their lone loss came to the TCU Horned Frogs. They beat teams. It started out kind of easy for them with 50-point wins, 50-point victories. Colorado State, you beat Hawaii, you beat UConn. You barely beat Maryland, which Maryland looks like a team on the rise with Coach Mike Locksley. Looks like they're trending in an upward direction. Again, a different team for a different time. You beat Iowa convincingly. You beat Indiana convincingly. You blow out Penn State at the Big House. You get the bye week, and then you come off the bye week. Michigan State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Illinois, and Ohio State. Beat Ohio State for the second year in a row. This time a complete blowout in Columbus, 45-23. Then you have the Big Ten championship against Purdue, 43-22, the score on December 3rd. And then, of course, the loss, very, very close, a 6-point loss to the TCU Horned Frogs, who got blown out in the national championship. So overall, I'd say it's a good season for Michigan. I know Michigan fans wanted to take a step forward and see their team in the national title and win a playoff game. Can they do that this year? Let's definitely take a look. Okay, 2023 for the Michigan Wolverines. Let's full screen this here and take a look at it. You got the spring game coming up. Going to be interesting. I'm going to try to watch that on Saturday, April 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern time on the Big Ten Network. We'll find out a lot more about some of these teams that we don't know because it is hard to predict early on. It's fun to do that, though. And honestly, I mean, you find out more about teams after the spring game, and it makes it a little easier to do predictions. But for right now, we're going to go with what we know so far and dive into the schedule. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green. Call it what it is. It looks like a 3-0 start as J.J. McCarthy comes back this year. Donovan Edwards comes back. You have on the defense, of course, Kenneth Grant, that's offensive line. Charlie Lavelle. You have linebacker James Kavuklis, I guess is how you say it. So you have quite a bit of experience coming back. You have some sophomores. You have grad students. You have some seniors, some juniors that are going to get ready for the NFL. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting. This is where you watch, like, for example, I think I heard this name just a little bit last year. Does a guy like a wide receiver, Christian Bartholomew, who's a senior, 6 foot, 187, does he step up in the spring and does he help the team? But I think bottom line of the roster situation, I think the talent is there. I think the recruiting is off the charts right now at Michigan and Ann Arbor. And I think that they're ready to take on whatever college football throws their way this year in 2023. That being said, after the spring game, you got a long off season ahead, but we dive into September. On September 2nd, You open with East Carolina. Again, one of those teams that it should be no problem for you. UNLV, Bowling Green. Then you get into the Big Ten play. I think Michigan should be better than Rutgers. But again, we never. I say this: go back to 2019. LSU came out of nowhere. Expect the unexpected in college football. So, but right now, I would say it's a 4-0 start if you take care of Rutgers. Then you got to go on the road to Lincoln, Nebraska to play the Cornhuskers. Um, Interesting trip there. We'll see how Nebraska's doing without Scott Frost. Got to be better, got to improve, and they probably will improve. Again, that's the team we look at on a different day. At Minnesota, PJ Fleck, recruits okay, has talent, really good at home. Could that possibly be a trap game on the schedule? I think it's possible. In fact, I'll go ahead. I did forget to list Minnesota. I must have overlooked the schedule there, but I'll go ahead and give you the trap games here: at Michigan State, at Penn State, at Maryland, Purdue, Ohio State, and throw in that Minnesota game. After Minnesota, you have Indiana, at Michigan State. Of course, I do have them listed on the trap games. Then you get a bye week, which is perfect because I do think it's an interesting stretch here. You got Purdue, who can give you some trouble, could be a favorite out of the West. You got at Penn State, Beaver Stadium. Is that this year's whiteout? We don't know the time yet, but Penn State can play good at home and give teams a game. At Maryland, and then Ohio State at the Big House. Ohio State has lost the past two meetings to Michigan. Michigan gets the Buckeyes at home. That's going to be key if you want to win the East. That's most likely what the East is going to come down to is probably Michigan and Ohio State. If not that, maybe Penn State. And I say it like that because Ohio State loses C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think they're losing Travion Henry. I mean, they're losing quite a bit of talent to the NFL. Ohio State should take a step back. The question is, how far of a step back does it go? Because Ryan Day, of course, still coaching up a really talented program over there in Columbus. So, um, again, I mentioned the trap games. The ones you probably will be I think they'll be favored in like 99% of these games, even like Ohio State, Penn State. These are the games you should be favored in. If you are favored, these are the games you could possibly lose if you're not careful. Again, I say Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland, Purdue, and Ohio State. That being said, I don't do this often, but I'm going to go ahead and give a prediction. I want to shout out Nate the Great. Um, if he's watching, you guys should be a really good team this year. Again, JJ McCarthy leads the offense. When you look at uh, the coaching staff this year, you have Jim Harbaugh, you have the Ron Bellamy as the wide receivers coach for a couple years in a row now. Grant Newsom, the tight ends coach. Um, the run game coordinator and running backs coach is Mike Hart. Defensive coordinator is Jesse Minter. Where is the co-defensive coordinator is Steve Klinkscale. I get all of this from mgoblue.com, though, the official Michigan website. The offensive coordinator is Sharon Moore. So, quite a few guys that you've had for the past couple years. At least I know I've heard those names around Michigan for the past couple years or so. When you look at it, um, so yeah, you guys should have the coordinators. You definitely have the talent. When you look at what you bring in, I'll give you guys a lot of credit there. I mean, JJ McCarthy leads the offense. Um, you have, um, like I say, hold on, let me pull this up. I want to pull this back up. You bring back Blake Corum. That's big. You bring back AJ Henning. You bring in some quarterback. There's not going to be quarterback competition, but you bring in Brandon Mann, who's the backup quarterback, I guess. Cornelius Johnson is a grad student. Um, Donovan Edwards coming in. So a lot of guys are deciding to come back. I think that when you have guys that are ready for the NFL, like Donovan Edwards or um, Cornelius Johnson. We have guys that are ready for the NFL like they are, and they decide to come back. They are on a mission. I believe Michigan's on a mission to finally win a playoff game and actually get to a national title and potentially win a national title. And I'm going to be honest when I say this that, I think they have the potential to do that. I think the talent is there. I think the coaching is there with Jim Harbaugh. And, I know people want to sit there and say Jim Harbaugh can't win the big one, but, honestly, it takes time to get to that level. It took what year was he hired? It was like 2015, I think. It hasn't been too far back, but it took Harbaugh what? Maybe half a decade, 5 years to finally beat Ohio State. That's what he was hired to do. He wasn't doing it, and he finally did it, and now he's done that the past 2 years in a row. So now the next step is, can you not only make the college football playoff, can you win the college football playoff? At the very least, win the semifinal and get to a natty. If you can do that, you're taking steps forward. And I think Michigan probably has the potential to do that this year. I really believe that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not ready to give my playoff teams for 2023. But I do think Michigan should be on your radar if they're not already. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think Michigan's going to be a bad team next year. And I mean bad as in watch out. They're going to be good, but man, them some bad dudes on that roster, man, that want to play football. They want to play physical. They want to dominate the line of scrimmage. They have receivers that want to go get the football, getting the football into the end zone, scoring points, which ultimately leads to victories. That being said, it takes a lot for me to do this, but I'm going to do it for Michigan. I do think you get Ohio State again. You get them at home. I think you're better than Penn State. I think you're better than Michigan State. I basically think you're better than everyone in the Big Ten this upcoming season, as some teams take steps back. Michigan remains the same, takes a couple steps forward. I'm going to go ahead and say that Michigan goes 12-0, runs the table, and you'll see them at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. I love you guys. I want to hear from you guys in the comments what you think about this record prediction. I know some people have commented on some of these and say it's early on, it's too early to tell. But I want to do every team this off season, and you kind of go off what you know, at least for right now, and you basically make a prediction around that. So, with what I know about Michigan and what they bring back to the table, um, I think that they are on the right track to win the Big Ten again, make the CFP. And the question is, can they win against whoever they play? They did not win against TCU last year, and we saw what happened to them in the national championship. Is that stage too big? We will find out later this year in December. Love y'all. Have a great week ahead. Have a great day. And Ballard Sports Media, check it out. I love y'all. Peace.